Hello, everyone. My name is Ray, and I am so happy to be here to talk to you about the 3 top most hated careers I've ever worked in. And this is going to be some tea for you guys because a lot of people work in the careers that I used to work in, and they'll definitely understand what I'm saying once we address all 3 of these careers, because it's like, we only got so much time in life. You can't waste it on things that drain you, especially job. I can't wait to break it down for you and share all of this juicy conversation with you. I'll start with like the least hated, in my opinion, since I've lived through it. Third spot would definitely go to being a waitress. Honestly, I started being a waitress when I was 24 and I was living in Los Angeles. It was this amazing Vietnamese place. Like, I saw a lot of famous people. That was really cool. Saw Jack Black. Wow. Oh my God, amazing. But as time went along and I moved back to New York State, where I'm from, I worked at a comedy club. The manager was pretty shitty on my first day, and that really made me feel like, what kind of industry is this really? Because I didn't really deal with that before I moved back home, and it was pretty draining. I love the people, I love talking to people, but at the end of the day, I was getting paid pennies. I think that a lot of us who were waitresses or are waiters have lived off of tips, and when I learned the history of tips and why they give tips to poor people, it's because, a sentiment of, feeling more important. So it's a class thing. But anyway, it was really cool because the comedy spot I worked at, I met a lot of great comics. Lil Duval, I think that's how you say his name. Met him. Sinbad, he's amazing, such a kind gentleman. But it was also always such a scummy industry. I think that's when I got into smoking cigarettes. It was a lot of drinking, and at the end of the day, I met really great people. I'm still friends with one person that I met while working back home in New York State. But I would say that it is not for a healthy lifestyle. And if you are a waiter or waitress, you know this. So yeah, that would be number 3. That would be my least hated, just because I liked moving around and I liked talking to the chefs, just a people person. And for the most part, aside from management, it was great. Second hated career, most hated, is actually one I just got out of. And I worked for a non-for-profit as a teacher. So again, I know across the US, I don't really know how it is across the world, but man, teachers are suffering today. Ever since COVID, it has gone really downhill, unfortunately, for both the students and the teachers. And honestly, I was in a position where I was getting paid $14, $15, $16 an hour, $18 hourly wage. And it was just not satisfying at the end of the day. The non-for-profit I worked for was desperate for people, number one. Obviously, like I said, after the pandemic, it's just been a revolving door for teachers. And I'm an artist. I am a writer. I'm an actress. And I came through the doors of that nonprofit ready to teach children art and also ready to experiment with it myself. And I worked in the industry, the teaching industry, for about 2 years with summer school, after school programs, and it was rough. I worked for a public school, and I had one kid who was probably in the 2nd or 3rd grade who literally, and mind you, I was a coordinator, a supervisor, I was doing the do. So I was working with kids and I was working with staff who were also kids. They were 16 years old, and they had been in a pandemic from the age of 14 to 16, basically, without really, I don't think, any life skills that they learned. I think that being isolated, they couldn't get a job. This was a job, their first job for a lot of them. And, it's just in the attitude that I had to deal with the employees. But that's another story. That is a whole nother video. The kids, though, like I said, I had one kid that was literally walking outside of the doors of the school without any permission. Just my God, I had to literally kick the kid out of the program. And every day I was walking away with a different issue, especially like the public school system. I think it's so messed up, and it's so unfortunate that there are so many kids neglected, and there are people in leadership that, are a bunch of Caucasian men, and the women are great. I feel like women are caretakers in a sense, and you see a lot of women teachers. I mean, there was not some great ones, but I walked away with realizing that I am not really a fan of dealing with a bunch of kids all the time. And that's hard to say because I love kids. I love my nieces and my nephews, but children that aren't a part of my family, it just becomes draining because I was dealing with kids who had a lot of issues. Like, I saw a kid punch another little kid in the face, like things like that made me feel like, okay, what am I really doing here? And like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing at this time? So that's number 2. And that's all I got to say about that. Maybe I'll do another follow-up video on my experience teaching in public schools and teaching with kids for a nonprofit, being paid pennies, and also having really no perks that would want to, keep me involved in that career field. And I think a lot of teachers dealing with this now. It's more hassles than perks, and it's unfortunate because we are the ones that take care of the children for 12 to 8 hours of the day. So I have to say about that. My number 1 most hated career field will be a shocker, because like I said, I'm in the arts. I'm a writer. I'm an actress. But I have also worked from the ground up as a production assistant in the film and television world here in New York State. And I will say that working as a production assistant was really, really hard. I'm going to give a quick story about my first ever job as they call it I forget. It's like you take care of the celebrities. Basically, you take care of the actors. You're that assistant. First team. I was a first team PA. And I wanted to just unalive myself. I swear, on my first day, I got yelled at about 3 times. And I had never done this position before. They have what's called an assistant director. So he basically calls the shots. He keeps us on schedule on the set. And I just want to say I love writing, and I actually love producing and making my own stuff along with my partner. We actually have a YouTube channel, Carmel E. Coco. You should go check it out. We do a lot of comedy. First week of working on my first set ever as an assistant, I was literally yelled at in front of everybody on the hot set, including all of the actors, all of the directors and producers. Huh? And I was made out to look like the biggest schmuck ever. And if they don't tell you that embarrassment does not give you PTSD, they're lying, because I literally had, I think that was like the start of my anxiety issues, man. I'm not going to mention his name, but, there's plenty of them, toxic people on sets. And that was my first experience as an assistant. My first ever experience was being a stand-in on the film Marshall in 2007. And that was amazing. I was in there, I was doing it. And obviously that's because I'm an actress and I want to do more acting on major studio sets and everything else. And that was great. I loved it. But then when I transitioned to the other side of it, which was behind the scenes production, I felt very drained. And this was not the only set I felt drained on. I continued to work on more sets over the next 5 years. And it was actually my last set that I worked on. It actually ended March of 2020. So it was literally the last week before everything was shut down. That was my last ever set I worked on. I was an assistant in wardrobe. And my supervisor, who I knew and worked on previous movies with and everything else, was just aggy and rude all the time. And, very I just felt like I was a part of the team because I knew all the other gals that were working. They were amazing. They're still amazing and still doing great things. But it was just, who I was under that was pretty just, I don't know, the way she was. But I did not like it. I was like, this is the last set I ever work on. I am not supposed to be treated like this. Number one, I'm a human being. Second, I deserve more quality of life. I'm getting paid pennies once again in an industry that you're dragged through a 12 to 14 hour day and getting paid literally this much. So making under $30,000 a year, I decided that, you know what, maybe I can transition. Maybe I can do something else. I want to be an actress. I know that. I want to write and create my own stuff, but this is not how I want to climb the ladder at all. Like at all. And so honestly, I got a year off, which was like the most healing time of my life, because before that I had been through so many different things that it was like the last straw. That working on that set was the last straw, because it's like, no, I know who I am. I'm worth more than that. And I don't know, like, you know, if there's people that might be seeing this video that have worked in film and television, I love it. I love meeting new people, but I can't take the long hours, unless I'm acting. Fine. That is the creative fuel that I need. But being an assistant was just, it was rough, y'all. Those are my top 3 hated careers. And guess what? Now I have a nice girly girl, comfort girl, soft girl job. And it's paying me what I think I can live off for now. So I am very happy with that, and I'm able to still create what I want. Speaking of things that I create, I hope that you head over to the other channel that I'm a part of, Carmel E Coco. That's spelled CarmelYNCOCO, with my lovely partner. He's the Coco and I am the Carmel. And we have a few great skits up there. We're working on more content to share with everyone. You can follow me on Instagram if you'd like. I'm at Rach_Ella_Bella on Instagram, and that's the only platform I really have. And then find Carmel E Coco on Instagram as well, and we're on TikTok. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be making some more of my favorite things, least favorite things, and yeah, see you